Hey guys, it's Marshall from Going Gear, and we're here at SHOT Show 2013 in Las Vegas, here in the CRKT booth. We're doing something a little bit different this year. You might have seen some of the other interviews that we've done, but in addition to just showing you the knives, we're also talking to the knife designers, which I think is really cool. I like talking to these guys, talking about their inspirations and ideas and all that kind of stuff. So we have Flavio Ikoma here. For those of you that don't know, he is the co-inventor of IKBS. Co-inventor of IKBS. Best pivot system I've ever seen. It's a sealed ball bearing, super smooth, flipping kind of system, and I like it a lot. So I wanted to talk to you about what you have going.
Yeah. Well, right now we have some new designs for CRKT. Last year we started with the Sampa folder. That's my first design for CRKT. It has IKBS. It's a kind of knife that Ken Onion come up with. That's called we call them as a nickname as a genticle folder.
A genticle
yeah,
folder.
because it's actually pretty small to be a gentleman's folder, but it's also designed in a way you can use this as a tactical folder. Okay. So it's strong enough to be used, but it's small enough to be carried. So for this year we have the follow-up for the Sampa. That's the Carajás folder. That's pretty much the same style folder, but now we are going for G10 handles. That's the material that's used even in custom folders, you know. So it's pretty much the same principle of having a fast, easy to use folder, easy to carry folder as well, and strong enough to do pretty much any job. I also have here the Dashi. That's one idea I have for last year. That's actually a keychain knife that actually you can go anywhere with that. So the idea is that you have a knife that you can carry with your keys, your house key, your car key, motorcycle key, so you're not going to leave your house without a knife.
So this is something I've been asking everybody. When you come up with a design for a knife, what's your thought process? Are you just trying to make something look cool, or do you have a specific purpose, or how did you come up with this design?
Well, actually, I consider that everything has to do with design. You can't do anything without going through design, at least at a certain point. You know, everything you make that ended up being something physical has to go through a design part. So I think it's important that a knife that has to look good. Because it's not that difficult to make a knife look good. Just because it's a tool doesn't necessarily mean that it doesn't have to look good. But pretty much everything in the knife is thought to be here. So the reason why we have a flipper, the reason why we have all these serrations here, because I want something, as you can see, my hand sweats a lot. And this doesn't help when you're using any kind of tools.
Sure.
Know? So I always like to have grippy handles, so I can put my thumb here, my index finger here, and I can flip it without the fear to lose the knife, because it's going to slip. The handle is very grippy. I always put finger notes, choils here, so I can use the folder in several positions, you know. So even the back spacer is raised and has serration, so you can have a very good grip. So I actually try to use something that is a disadvantage actually in a way to turn this into an advantage. So because of my very sleepy hand, my handles are designed in a way so you're not going to lose the knife easily. So this is designed up to a certain point, and of course in the end it ended up looking good, because actually if you're going to look, most of the stuff that has design looks good. My inspirations are jet fighters, weapons. We are here at the SHOT Show. You can see very nice weapons, sports cars, birds of prey, predator animals. They all have very effective shapes, and this is pretty much design. They all look nice. If you look to a sports car or a jet fighter, they look cool, they look nice, but they are not meant just to look cool or nice. They are meant for performance as well. So in the end, when you have a good design, most of the time you ended up with some good performance as well. So
what's the purpose of the holes? Just a
This is just aesthetic. This is just we have something to break the pattern here, not to have a very flat area. So there's no real use for that. This we have. I like to put a mix of things that have use, have a function, but every time I have something opportunity to use, I put some aesthetic design details, so to make the folder look a little bit better, because it's not going to hurt anyway. So.
And I'm guessing you use the same philosophies and everything in actually your custom knives as you do in your CRKT designs?
Well, not necessarily, because some of my custom knives are very specific for the custom market, and it doesn't really translate well for the production stuff. You know, so some of the knives are specifically designed to be made for the way CRKT works. Of course, it's much easier for me to make a knife, to make a design, and make a custom version that's slightly different. So because I'm a one-man army, so I have a big versatility. Then CRKT gets a knife that is exactly the same way I make in the custom knife. You know, so actually right now, my mentality is when I design a knife for CRKT, I think a lot about the tooling, about how expensive it's going to be, how deep it's going to be, and how good it's going to look in the end. When I make a custom folder, it's not necessarily like that. The custom folder relies a lot on how much work, personal work I put on that. A good design for a production is not the same way. It's a little bit different.
Right, and I guess you're making thousands instead of, tens.
Exactly. You need to have, for example, when I'm working with something that's a custom folder, you can go a little bit on the fly, so you can do something and then you can change the ground here or there and make it look good or make it functional. When you are working in a folder for a production, you need to have more design involved. You need to be more careful what you are doing, because once you have all the tooling done, it's really difficult to change things, So it's a little slightly different, so it's not exactly the same knife. This folder, for example, originally it's integral titanium, and now it's G10. I don't have a G10 version for the custom folder, but CRKT has. So it's slightly different, but I always think in a way that CRKT is going to be able to make a good folder once they're done.
At a reasonable price point and something they can mass produce and a lot of consideration.
Yeah, and the customer can use without having much problem.
Right.
Being effective, being something intuitive, something useful is very important as well. Like I said, that's part of the design. In the end, you ended up having the good design if you have something that works well. It might end up looking good in the end. Of course, it always helps to have some holes here, some details here and there that are not going to have any real function, but it's going to help in the design.
Right. Question about the Dashi. It's got kind of an interesting design and interesting blade shape, an interesting way the blade actually is held when you have it in your hands. What's the thinking behind that?
Well, the thinking behind the Dashi first is to have something that you can carry every day. So you clip that on your keys, you clip that on your car key, house key, and you have a knife that you're going to you can use everywhere. It's something that goes everywhere without being much risk. Actually, the shape of this knife is designed to be a small knife with some use, because we have a lot of small knives. Most of the small knives are not really easy to use because they are so small and the handle is so small that you actually don't have any leverage on that. So as you can see, the Dashi here, part of the handle actually gets into the blade. So when you hold the knife, part of the edge is actually wrapping your finger. So actually have a very short knife with a good grip. So you can actually use this as a knife. So you can, if you want to cut something, if you want to slice something, this is going to be effective. Also, the thumb rest here gives you a good leverage, so you can go through materials. If you need apply a little bit of a strength here, so you have a lot of strength on this. It's much better than if you have a small knife, because if you just have a knife that's just this long in a regular shape, it's going to be really difficult to use that.
Sure. I like how much thought you put into your knives. That's nice to hear.
I have some videos on the internet where I show how I use the Dashi. The custom version is titanium blade, and there is some videos on the internet.
So you have a YouTube channel people can go watch?
Yes, it's not a channel, but I have some videos that have some tests for a KBS, and I have some tests for the Dashi, showing how a small knife can cut through several pieces of manila rope. So it is a useful knife. Well, it is a multi-position system. Also, you can hold it here as a defensive weapon. You can hold it here, so and you can have a good grip.
We'll put the URL for his
good.
channel.
You'll provide
that. Channel. He won't admit it, but he does.
Yeah, it's a small channel. It's not.
We'll put the URL in the description. Well, I appreciate it. Thanks for taking the time to talk to us.
Thank you very much.